This is TWiT.
All right, so the most important kind of phase that we're in right now in technology news cycle and journalism and politics. I mean, it's all pointing to this idea of how easy our technology is to kind of shape, form fit, manipulate, to misinform. And that kind of seems to, thankfully Snopes is there, although I don't know if you were super happy to have to take on this gargantuan challenge, which is to be one of the very few companies online who's dedicated to really proving that some of these highly charged news stories, these claims, all this stuff that's happening in the politics space right now is true or false. So, fake news is a big deal. Back in 2012, kind of prior to all the fake news stuff, factcheck.org quoted you as saying you'd be hard-pressed to find two more apolitical people. Of course, you were talking about you and your then-wife, Barbara Mikkelson. Has the era of fake news changed that for you?
Well, I'll tell you an amusing anecdote. It was one of my hobbies in my increasingly vanishing free time is board gaming. Yes. So there was a fellow in one of my board gaming groups about the same age as me, who a pediatrician, who was telling me one day about how his father, who was then in his 80s, was getting increasingly enmeshed in Fox News and kept sending him links to all these stories about Barack Obama was born in Kenya and he's a radical Muslim who attended a madrasa, and so my friend would send his father back links to Snopes patiently. And he said one day his father replied and said, well, why should we trust them? I mean, you don't know what their agenda is. You don't know who they are. So he replied to his father, well, Dad, actually, I do know who they are. I've been over to their house and they're not really very political. So, yes. So, prior to doing this, politics was not really an interest of mine at all. It really only became it to the extent of, having to be up on it to do what we do. But I had never and still have not, worked for a political campaign, advocated on behalf of any candidate, not to the extent of sticking a sign in my front yard or putting a bumper sticker on my car. Right. I have never donated to a political party or campaign or candidate, despite people's attempts to try and claim that we have, but no.
Well, you mentioned that's one of the things that we've kind of heard in the past, or rather that people have charged or questioned, is this idea of bias on the site, and are you left leaning or right leaning? And I mean, what you're saying today is that you kind of you approach the problem. You don't necessarily, it sounds like, approach it from either side. But how do you well, I guess if you're making both sides angry, then you're probably doing it right?
Yeah, well, it was sort of an interesting phenomenon that for a very long time, probably, 95% of the political stuff we were coming across in the wild, so to speak, on the internet was anti-liberal, anti-democratic for whatever reasons we could only guess at. And it's really only within the last, 4 years or so, I'd say 4 to 6 years, kind of like the other side is caught up, and where it's now kind of evenly divided between, the two sides attacking each other. So for a very long time, 90% of what we were writing about was, anti-liberal, anti-democratic, and it's kind of a hallmark that, 90% of what we're writing about tends to be outright false, if not grossly exaggerated, no matter who it originated with. So it kind of created that perception that, all you're doing is taking stuff about liberals and saying it's false, so you're obviously liberal, but that just happened to be the nature of the material. I mean, now we have, Occupy Democrats and a whole lot of other, left-leaning sites and, Facebook groups out there that are competing in the political arena. So, it's a pretty evenly mixed bag now.
Yeah, it feels that way.